Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome back to Keeping Fish Simple. So in today's video, as you would have gathered from the thumbnail and the title, I'm going away on vacation. And I thought, what better an opportunity than to show you guys exactly what I do before I go on vacation. I'm going to explain a few things and try and make this as easy as possible for you guys to understand before you go on your vacation. So what we're going to do is go over the standard things that I would do if I wasn't in like a large breeding fish room. So if I just had a tank at home, so you guys can understand that. And then I'm going to show you everything that I do in my fish room, so that if you want some more information on how to exactly get your fish to survive, you can watch the whole video and completely understand my logic behind doing this. I'm only going away for a couple of days. It would be a completely different story if I was going away for a week or 3 weeks. If that was going to happen, I'd largely have to stop my breeding in the fish room, and I would have no babies in the fish room. And what I'd do is I'd pay someone to come in, take care of the fish and feed them once a day just to keep my brood stock alive. I'd go on my holiday, then come back and do my breeding again. That would significantly impact my income, but if I want to have a holiday, that's part of doing that. When we're going away for 2 to 3 days, this doesn't really matter too much. We're kind of pushing it a little bit. Our fry are definitely going to get a little bit skinny from doing this, but they should all survive. As long as we have everything else in place, we won't have any issues. If I was at home and I only had 1 or 2 tanks, or even if I had like up to 10 tanks and I wasn't really doing any breeding, if I was going away for a few days, I honestly wouldn't even worry about feeding fish. I've had fish survive for up to a week to 2 weeks not feeding them when I've gone on holidays before. And that might sound cruel, but I kind of did this knowing that the fish wouldn't actually need to eat that much. I've also had instances where I've actually brought people in to kind of help me take care of the fish. Normally I try to get people not to do this because no one's going to take care of the fish the same way as you. They're going to overfeed them, they won't know what to do. That won't work too well. If you're only going away for a week and you have like a fish tank, like a community fish tank with some guppies in there, honestly don't even worry about it. I wouldn't even bother feeding the fish. They're going to do absolutely fine. You're not being cruel. In the wild, fish go a long time without having to find food, and they can go like a whole winter without eating sometimes. It sounds cruel, but they actually can really do it. So unless you're going away for like a month, I probably wouldn't even worry about it unless you have babies. Now, if you don't like my opinion on not feeding a fish for a week, there are a few things that you can do to feed your fish while you are away. The first thing is buying one of those holiday blocks, which I just think are a massive scam and a gimmick. I don't see how those work. I mean, they've probably worked for some people in the past, but for me, if you're feeding your fish like a white block, it doesn't seem very natural and like something that I'd want to feed my fish at all. If you cared about your fish, you wouldn't do it. Sorry for bagging these out. I know I'm going to get a little bit of hate for it, but those things just look like complete trash to me, and I would never feed those to my fish. So probably don't go and do that. That's not really necessary. The other thing you can do is set up an auto feeder. You want to experiment with your auto feeder a couple of days before you've gone away. So set up your auto feeder maybe 4 or 5 days before you go on holidays. Watch how much it feeds to make sure you don't schedule it wrong or program it wrong, and see how that goes. And then the final thing you can do is pay someone or get like a family member to help take care of the fish. You're either going to want someone who's kept fish before and like actually kept fish successfully and knows how to feed fish, or what you're going to want to do is ration out the food and make the clearest instructions of all time on how to feed the fish. So what I would do is get little containers with the amount of food that you want them to feed, and then just tell them to pour the container in when you want them to feed it. But you can just do that with an auto feeding system. So that's what I would do if you do want to feed your fish. Like I said, probably up to a week, I wouldn't even worry about this. If I was going away for 3 weeks, I'd try and get someone to take care of my fish. And what I would do is do the rationing, make it really clear for the first week on how much to feed, and then hopefully the week after they can kind of understand it. Now, the second most important thing before you leave is cleaning your tanks. So what that means is doing a big water change. And another thing I'd also recommend doing on top of the water change is cleaning out your filter media. What I mean by that is not taking your filter out and putting it in tap water and cleaning it that way. Like, that's not going to work. What you're going to do is kill off all your bacteria, and you're going to come back to a dirty tank full of dead fish because you've just ruined the whole entire ecosystem of your tank. What you want to do is just get some of that mulm out of your filter media. So take your filter out and use some old tank water from your water change, and then just squeeze that sponge out and get all that muck out of the filter. Now, the reason we're doing this is, first of all, if you for some reason have a power outage while you're away, what can happen is if your filter has tons of that mulm in it, that mulm's going to start to rot, and it's just going to cause your tank to crash. So if you don't have any of that mulm in there, it's going to mean that you have a more likely chance of your fish surviving if you do have a power outage. So I definitely recommend going through there, cleaning out all your filters and making sure there's no mulm in them. Don't clean them too much though, that you're going to kill all that beneficial bacteria that's in your tank. Just give your tank maybe a 20 to 30% water change before you go, clean out that filter, and you should be good to go. Now that's basically it for what I would do if I had like a few tanks. The third thing that I'm going to suggest is kind of a little bit of a hack, And this will only work if you don't have plants in your tank, or if you have really easy to care for plants and you have your tank in a dark room. But what I'll do in this fish room is, because I don't have any plants in here and because I'm not focused on growing plants, what I'm probably going to do over the 2 to 3 days is literally turn off all the lights. This room's going to go completely black, and then when I come back in 3 days, I'm just going to turn all the lights on. The fish throughout that whole period are just going to sleep, and it's going to seem like an extra long night. So that means they're probably not going to need too much food throughout that period, and I'm kind of getting like the benefits of just a really long sleep for my fish. And I've done that before and it normally works really well. Now, if you're going away for a week, it's probably not going to help you too much, but if you're going away for a few days, that's going to help them get through that period of not eating and can actually work really well. Now, in the case of my fish room where we have 65 tanks in here, I think we have 65 tanks, I'm not too sure, maybe it's 64 or something like that, and we have a ton of babies in here and we have constant breeding, it's obviously going to be a little bit different for me. Normally what I try and do is make sure that I don't have babies in vulnerable position. I'll just make sure that I don't have any fresh-born babies, so I want babies that are kind of on that juvenile stage, not like babies that need to eat constantly. And the main thing I'll do is take all the babies out of my fry system over on the other side of the fish room and put them into actual grow out tanks. So if anything goes wrong with my fry system, I'm not going to lose any babies. And the other thing too is, because the babies are in bigger tanks, like a grow out tank, they're going to naturally find mulm and things like that to eat while I'm gone. That's the first thing we're going to do. The other thing that I've gone ahead and done is go through all the tanks that I think are vulnerable for if there was going to be some kind of power outage crashing, which is most of the grow out tanks anyways. So if I did have a power outage, I'd have to use my battery backup system, which I'd have in place. I've gone through and cleaned out a ton of sponge filters. What we're also going to do is schedule a water change for tomorrow morning. And what that's going to do is it's just going to change all the water in the fish room and give everyone clean water. The other thing we're going to do is give everything a final feed tomorrow morning, and then we're just going to turn off the lights. And then we just cross our fingers that everything goes okay. Over the 3 days, they're not going to eat anything, but they should all make it. I have gotten asked this a lot, what I do when I want to go on a holiday, because I am kind of wed to this fish room. So that's what I have to do. I guess something that is annoying is, even though I'm going away for 2 to 3 days, I pretty much can't breed fish for a whole week. It doesn't really matter too much in this fish room because I'm not at a scale where it impacts me too much. What that would do if I was in a bigger fish room is affect my income in like a couple months' time, because I wouldn't have fish from that week to supply to stores and things like that. That doesn't really matter too much because this is kind of still like a little bit of a hobby room slash business room for me. That's pretty much everything that I'm going to do for the fish room when I'm gone. And then in a couple days' time, we're going to come back and I'm going to show you guys what happened, if we had any issues, and I'm crossing my fingers that we don't have any issues. So tomorrow morning I'll come in, turn all the lights off, and then I'll catch up with you guys in a couple days' time after my holiday. I know it's only a weekend away, but it's still a vacation for me, and we'll see how everything went. So I'll see you guys after my vacation. Okay, so it's now been a few days and we're back from our holiday and we're back in the fish room. I came in this morning and I just wanted to quickly update you guys and let you guys know everything went perfectly. Like, I came around the fish room, I was having a look around, I was looking for issues, basically nothing has happened. I mean, probably 1 or 2 things have died here and there that I don't know about, but that's just because I have so many fish and things just die all the time anyways. So that's really good, I'm happy about that. The only thing I could complain about is maybe a few fry died. I'm not too sure. I did add some ram fry to a tank and I haven't seen a lot of them. Understandably, that was kind of the risk going away, and that's why we don't really breed things when we go away, but we might have lost a few fish in there. Besides that, everything else was good. The only other complaint I have is some of our plecos didn't breed, but that's also okay. That's perfectly fine. And I didn't really expect to have any breeding while I was away. There you have it, that's the proof. I mean, I left this fish room for a full 3 days, no feeding, just turned all the lights off, came back in, turned them all on, and here we are, and no issues. I probably could have gone longer. I would have started to have issues with some of my smaller fish, like my babies. I was only away for 3 days, but I definitely could have left this place a little bit longer and everything else would have been fine. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys feel a little bit more relieved about leaving a fish for a period of time, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.